The Law of Karma, Dhamma Practice, Volume 10. When I studied with Luang Poh Doem. When I finished the lessons, Luang Poh Doem's health collapsed. Reading from the calendar, Wat Ampawan. When I finished the lessons, Luang Poh Doem's health collapsed overnight, as if he was maintaining himself long enough only to teach me the elephant science and to let me be close to him until his death. I lived with him the whole 6 months. At that moment, his relatives showed up to look after him. I was left in front of his lodging, since there was no space. Luang Po's health became worse. It was the year 1951. I was with Luang Poh Doem until the last moment. That day, the sky was clear. There was no cloud. It was hot and dry. All of a sudden, a mass of dark clouds covered the sky over Luang Poh. Then it poured. It was a strange phenomenon. I learned later that Luang Poh had expressed concern with the villagers regarding the amount of water in the pond in Ban Luang Poh village. The villagers said that if there would be no rain in a few days' time, the village would certainly be suffering from drought, since there was very little water. Luang Poh Doem then asked to be dressed up in the saffron robes. He closed his eyes, put his hands together at his breast, and chanted certain verses and developed the kasina. Not long after, rain clouds formed all over the sky. It went dark all over. Then it rained heavily, almost filling the pond. Luang Poh Doem fought to his last breath and to the last drops of rain until he passed away. I knew that Luang Poh Doem had gone when I heard his relatives inside the lodging weeping, and some came out crying, "Luang Poh has gone." We beat the drums and rang the bells as signals. Even though I was his disciple for only the last 6 months, I felt empty. However, I received an immense legacy from him, kasina and monkhood. Without him, I would not be telling you this story in the saffron robe today. I stayed on to help during the 7-night chant of the tabulated summary of the higher doctrine, or Matika, until the cremation was completed. The ecclesiastical province governor of Nakhon Sawan province chaired the ceremony since he was highly respectful of Luang Poh Doem. I attended him closely. I knew him because he had often visited Luang Poh Doem. Luang Poh Doem must have told him that this was Prajaran and that this monk wished to leave the monkhood, and how he stopped me from leaving. During the ceremony, when there was an occasion, the ecclesiastical province governor summoned me to his presence. He said, "So you are Prajaran from Wat Phromburi?" I said yes. He then gave me advice. "Let me tell you truthfully. I am the ecclesiastical province governor of Nakhon Sawan, who was a pupil of Luang Poh Doem. I have become successful today because of his kind guidance, and you are the chosen pupil." I was dumbfounded. I did not know before that the ecclesiastical province governor of Nakhon Sawan was Luang Poh Doem's pupil, and that I was the chosen pupil. So I said, "I am sorry, but I do not understand why you said I was chosen." He said, "Listen carefully. Luang Poh Doem never taught the elephant science to anybody, be it a lay person or a monk here or outside Ban Luang Poh. You are the only person he taught the science. So you are really fortunate. It is your perfection really. People had asked him directly to teach them, but Luang Poh Doem would only laugh. At best, he would tell them to wait and that it was not time yet. But he never mentioned it again, so they never got to learn it. I understood right away that Luang Poh Doem had been especially kind to me. That was why he bestowed on me the elephant science completely. It was with intuition that he foresaw the future. Because later I would go into the forest to study with Luang Poh in the forest, that I would have to dwell alone in the forest to get expertise, and ran into a huge wild elephant, thundering down the way, ears spreading, tusks pointing at me. I remained seated, meditated and developed kasina, and radiated loving kindness to the divine being that took care of the elephant. The elephant was stopped from approaching me further by the divine being, who told it not to hurt a monk. In that moment, he came to a standstill, head and tusks suspended as if pulled from behind, only trunk and ears flagging hopelessly. He must have been told that this monk was not hurting you. You were born an animal. It was the result of unwholesome karma. If you killed him, that would be worse, and you would have little chance to be reborn human. It was a moment of life and death, because the elephant almost reached me. Then it swerved. At that moment, I could see Luang Poh Doem clearly, and I thought of his words that about not being arrogant when adults bestowed things on me. Be considerate enough to take it. It might be useful one day. I put my 10 fingers together and raised them to my forehead as a token of reverence in gratitude of his kindness. Not only that, I have also made use of the elephant science. That was about a nun who could recall her past life as an elephant. I met her here at Wat Ambawan when I talked to her and found out about it. A hunter called Thong Di raised a female baby elephant he met in the forest. The pachyderm surprisingly loved to follow the hunter to the temple, to listen to the chants and preaching, even after she grew up. The hunter certainly was dear to the elephant, took good care of her, never let her go hungry. Unfortunately, he died, and the relatives sold her to a mahout. She would be a burden and required care from them. The elephant was heartbroken. Tears fell down, for she did not want to leave. This had been her home and the hunter her father. The new mahout made her move by striking her above the ears with a hook. He used to drag her along. With tears rolling down, she had to follow. She refused to touch any food along the way. They made quite a distance. On reaching Sitep city or Phetchabun province, she collapsed to death in grief. After that, she was reborn a girl in a family next to Hunter Thong Di's area. When she was 12 years old, she asked to leave her parents to become a nun, after which she could recall her past life. At the age of 60, she came to Wat Amphawan. I questioned her based on the knowledge I had learned from Luang Poh Doem regarding the characteristic of male and female elephants and what elephants do in their daily life. People who listened to me questioning the nun were perplexed, not knowing how I came up with such questions. Finally, I admitted that what she said was true. If she had never been born an elephant, according to the elephant science I got from Luang Poh Doem, I would be able to tell but the nun was able to answer my question very truthfully, ensuring that she really could recall her past life. So you see that Luang Poh Doem foresaw the future as if he had attained divine eyes. Here, I refer to stanzas of wealth that will take you away from poverty. It goes, if you do not learn, how will you know? If you do not look, how will you see? If you do not practice, how will you do? You will be in trouble all your life. Therefore, you have got to learn, to know, to be able to do it. Do not look down upon learning. Just learn whatever you are taught. You will be able to help yourself in times of difficulty. The method of radiating loving kindness that Luang Poh Doem taught me was really useful in my later adventures. In a foreign country, I had to rely on it. Once I was in Sri Lanka, and it was tougher. It was even more so than wild elephants, since these are people. They were Tamil. But the loving kindness I learned from Luang Poh Doem enabled me to get cruel people to succumb. There is another lesson I learned from Luang Poh Doem. One day, he told me about how temples in ancient times produced the individual who would become the king's head advisor, and how the war strategies were taught by monks. This individual would supervise the army like the commander-in-chief of the armed force of the present time. In the old days, if the commander is skilled in war strategies, victory for the homeland is certain. This is because studying the books of war strategies means knowing the enemy's manpower, their routes and strategies. Luang Poh Doem asked me, "Well, when you walk through a thick forest in the middle of the night, how can you know which direction is which?" Then he taught me, when you are looking for directions, but you cannot see the way in complete darkness, you have got to look for the North Star. If you do not know how to look for that, you have got to rely on other things. If you walk past a temple and see the uposatha, you will be able to tell directions right away. If there is no uposatha around and you do not know how to look for the North Star, you need to know the types of trees, which kinds of trees or their branches like to grow up or turn to the north or the south. Without trees, you have got to use kasina that you have learned. Lie on your tummy. Spread out both arms. Fix your mind at the kasina. You become resolute to look for direction. Then some heat energy resulting from the power of your kasina will spread from the chest to one of the arms. The side that becomes hot is pointing to the north. Luang Poh Doem also taught me the knowledge of developing an image on the clouds. Megha-chāya, he said. In the old days, prior to a battle, the commander not only saw the weaponry and stanzas of protection, he also developed an image on the clouds. He would concentrate on his body, generating an image of his body. He would then lift the image up to the clouds. A well-shaped figure represents victory. A scattered figure warns the commander to be mindful and to guard against dangers. In the latter case, he would report to the king, asking him to take care of his household and extended family. Then he would go into the battle bravely as a real military man. That is war strategy. I have to admit that Luang Poh Doem was really skilled in all disciplines, having truly learned from the king of Thonburi's top commander, who was the first abbot of Wat Nong Po. This knowledge had been transferred to Luang Poh Doem, who then transferred it to me. Another subject that was taught is how to penetrate the states of others' mind. For example, when I walk past a house with nice green trees and I focus my mind, a feeling alternates with starts and stops in my mind. That means that soon there would be death in that house, sick people who will not make it. Some houses have dried up woods all around, which looks unpleasant, but I focus my mind. That feeling flashes continually. That means that soon there will be new wealth and luck. Moreover, when you wake up in the morning, if you pay attention to the state of mind that arises, and you notice that during the day you make a fortune, remember it, while another state of mind arises, and during the day you lose your property, remember it, or with yet other states of mind, and you meet with such and such incident, remember them. Later, you can tell what will happen with certain kinds of mind. A certain feeling that flashes your sense perception can tell of good or bad things. I have noticed and taken notes of these. Now I am skilled. Once I was invited to Chiang Rai province. I departed at 1 o'clock in the morning. I told my driver named Virat, if this kind of feeling flashes in your mind, let me know so I can fix my mind and get things under control. Otherwise, there will be danger. Upon reaching Chiang Rai, Virat told me, Luang Poh, I got this kind of feeling flashing. What should I do? I said, let's pull up here. If we go on, it will be dangerous. After a while, we continued the journey. Only another 3 kilometers from where we stopped, there was a car accident blocking the way ahead of us. A tour bus crashed into a 10-wheel truck loaded with logs and shed blood all over. Remains scattered all around. Luang Poh Doem was right. Had I not practiced and gained this knowledge, and we had kept on traveling, I would have been part of the bloodshed. I have a great respect for Luang Poh Doem. He bestowed on me my lifetime of monkhood. If he had not stopped me from disrobing, I would not have survived this long in the monkhood. After my chant every night, I never forget to pay homage to Luang Poh Doem, recollecting his virtue and kind guidance in making me a good monk. I have got part of his relics to keep and pay respect to. He was really a superb monk. It is difficult to find a teacher like him. After I left Wat Nong Po, I determined that my reverence to Luang Poh Doem, Venerable พระครูนิวาสดัมมขันธะ of Wat Nong Po, I, your pupil, pledge that I will be in the monkhood until death is seen by me, since you were the lamp that lights up my life, the role model, the teacher who guided me through the way a monk is and the way a good monk should be. The ceremony on the cremation day was held under His Majesty King's royal patronage. It was very crowded at the pile. Police had to disperse the crowd as soon as the cremation was completed and the fire was put out. People crowded in to get some remains out of reverence for him. As a monk, I had the advantage of being closer. Thus I got some. Wrapped in a piece of saffron cloth, it was the most precious item in my life at that moment. So this is how I learned that it is always useful to learn. Luang Poh Doem taught me that. I have no longer used any mantra or magic since I have become a Vipassana meditation teacher. I ignore them all, since there is no reason I would need them, but they are still in my mind. I can still remember them, not that I forget them with lack of use. I simply do not use them anymore. That is my story about the time when I was with Luang Poh Doem.